An unsettling quiet has descended on our cities. Many predictions are now being made about what the office of the future will look like. It seems a new normal has come out of nowhere, without warning, but the change agents have been in the works for some time. In this film, we'll take a look at 4 variables: broadband, the commute, applications, and demographics. An at-home internet connection is something we usually take for granted. But the ubiquity of broadband is something that has only really occurred over the last 10 years. The following chart tracks this growth between 2000 and 2017 in Canada and the United States, showing just how steady that growth has been. In the last 10 years, both countries have experienced growth of approximately 40%. Agonizing commutes in large urban centers are a common driver of remote working. In this graphic, let's look at a sample of how commute times have risen. We'll compare Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Chicago. Due to the difficulty in getting uniform data, this shows different time frames but still tells a familiar story. All 3 cities have experienced increased commute times. Now, let's include New York and Toronto. Both cities have experienced even more growth, but Toronto seems precipitous. A significant contributor to the viability of remote work has been the growth of productivity applications. Here we have identified 3 application categories. These are teams and tasks, collaboration, and virtual presence in media. We've taken a number of familiar applications and put them in different categories along with the year that they were introduced. Some of these applications straddle multiple categories. Perhaps the biggest driver of change is shifting demographics, whose impacts will be profound. In this chart, consider 5 familiar generational cohorts: the Great Generation, Baby Boomers, Generation X, Millennials, and Generation Z. Most of the greatest generation is now retired. Boomers and Gen X have high numbers and show a strong preference for traditional work. But when we look at millennials, new patterns emerge. They are all about flexibility, whether it's how they work or where it happens. Decisions are made by the boomers and Gen X, but for how long? This is significant as another cohort waits in the wings. Let's see how demographics have shifted since 2000. The composition of generations is color-coded, and the percentage of the workforce is shown in the vertical axis. See how the compositions change. A few interesting items. Sometime between 2011 and 2012, Gen X overtook the Baby Boomers as the largest generational cohort. But their time was fleeting because by 2016, Gen X was overtaken by the Millennials. The story doesn't stop there. In this graph, the largest percentage occupied by any generation is seen in the year 2000, when the baby boomers comprised about 45% of the total U.S. workforce. Take a look at this new group, Generation Z, in the upper right-hand corner, who were born after 1996. In 2017, this group represented about 5.5% of the total U.S. workforce. But according to Ernst & Young, by 2025, they will constitute a staggering 75% of the workforce. Tomorrow's workplace must adjust accordingly. A moment ago, we identified 3 categories of productivity applications, which are shown on the screen. But a 4th one is emerging, which are apps developed to identify internal talent and referred to by some as internal talent marketplace apps. Old companies like Workday and new companies like Gloat lead the charge. This represents the category where most of the effort will be expended between 2020 and 2025, just as Gen Z begins dominating the workforce. Social distancing is real and will affect the way offices are configured. The central office, a fixture for generations, will inevitably change from a single location to a network of places. But when doing this, community must be maintained. Good productivity apps will play a key role, providing the glue to keep people connected. A strategic portfolio of robust productivity applications will go a long way in virtualizing a sense of community. These are uncertain times, but a bold new future awaits.